your questions and diving a little deeper. This is the Midweek Rewind.
Happy Thursday to you. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Midweek Rewind. We are excited to spend some time with you again, so hope you all are doing well, and thanks for joining us again if you're live or if you're watching later. Grateful for your time today. So, hey Brent, how are you today?
Doing well. Grateful. Beautiful day. It's going to be hot.
It is. It's going to be a nice day today. You just never know. It was cold yesterday. Who knows what tomorrow will bring, but today's a nice day, so we'll take it while we can. So yeah, Brent, it's still this weird COVID season. I'm so high from down the hall. Anything changed in your world this week? Are you still kind of feeling a little bit more adjusted in these times, or how are you feeling this week with all this craziness?
Well, I woke up, a couple, 3 days ago, and I'm not discouraged. I have joy. I mean, all things, it's going well. But for the first time, I did have this feeling of, man, I'm just ready to get back with people, but not for the season, at least for a while that we're in. But no, it's going well. It's just always interesting. Everyone's analyzing. There's hardly any conversations with anybody, but that it goes back to COVID-19, and it's for good reason. It's affected all of us, and so there is a common talking subject. So everyone in the United States is talking about COVID-19 when they're talking with their family or they're talking with their friends. Very interesting. Another thing is we've never known the future.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But there is an obsession with knowing when COVID is the restrictions are going to be lifted. And it's understandable because we're all affected by it. And we want to know when it will end. So, but it's going well. It's just a very interesting season. And there are days I wish I would be as obsessed with talking about Jesus as I am with trying to figure out COVID-19. But it's a very unique time in history because everyone in every conversation is addressing COVID.
Yep. It's weird to be living through something. Someone mentioned this to me the other day. Like, this is something I'm going to tell my grandkids about. And it's just weird to live in that awareness that this is an important thing that we're going to know for the rest of our lives. It's a strange time. But, well, Brent, what we usually do on this little show we have here is we look back and ahead a little bit. So here in just a minute, we're going to look back at your sermon from this past Sunday about marriage, and we'll get into some marriage tips for everybody watching today. But first, I wanted to give a quick heads up and reminder for people that we're actually doing something kind of weird this Sunday. We're going to try to do communion this Sunday, even though we're not in person. So I think there's going to be an email going out later today, Thursday, that it kind of has some details explained, and you're going to talk about it first thing on Sunday morning to give people kind of a heads up. But you want to just give a quick anything you want to say about communion on Sunday?
So Matt, sorry, you cut out there for a minute, but it's going to be a first time in our lives for many of us to do communion on a Sunday morning in our homes by ourselves. So there are many people who are solo. They're young adults and they're in their living room. It's just going to be weird to do communion by yourself or a couple or a family, but we're going to give instructions like, okay, stand up now, go get some crackers, go get some bread, go find some juice, put it together. You can pause this live stream while we're doing it. But Sunday's going to be a unique experience and a first time for many of us. Mm-hmm. But we'll try to remind people that, hey, when you are doing this alone, you're doing it with hundreds of other first MBers at the same time. Communion's this Sunday. We don't want COVID to stop our worship or to stop our teaching or to stop our remembering.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. It'll be a kind of unusual experience, but it'll be good. I'm glad we're going to give it a shot and see how it goes. So that's good. So yeah, Brent, so we're in the Arts-ish of Life series where you are blessing us with your artistic ability every week. It's a fun series. I'm enjoying it so far. I know it's going to be a good one. So this past week we talked about marriage and you did your whole flower pot analogy. Do you want to give us a quick reminder of what that was all about?
Yeah, I drew 3 very poor renditions of flower pots, and our one of our artists from church, Caitlin, painted watercolor another one. But yeah, in marriage and in relationships in general, but in marriage, I just simplistically said there are 3 kinds of marriage: a selfish, a contract, and a one flesh. And from very bad to mediocre to healthy. And I just tried to describe the characteristics of each one of those. So the selfish are one or both of the people dominantly selfish. You hang around in that pot long enough, you'll get a divorce. A relationship cannot survive. A friendship, a relationship with your father-in-law, a relationship with your brother or your mother cannot survive forever, certainly in a selfish. And then the contract, it's still a mediocre and on many days a bad marriage, but you've just got this line of commitment that you're not going to get a divorce. Or it could be expanded to relationships in general and say you are committed to a relationship with your brother who lives across town. There's a lot of dysfunction there. It's not an enjoyable ride. It's bumpy and the car is rattling and there's no air conditioning, but you're going to make the best of it because you're committed to the relationship. That's a contract marriage. And we got a lot of those. Well, when we did meet in the big room on Sunday morning, they're committed to staying married for their faith, for their family, for their finances, but it's not a very enjoyable ride. And then, of course, is the best relationship, and that's one flesh, where you just elevate it to the point where you say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so those were the 3. There we go. 3 kinds of marriage. I told the story of Hosea from the Old Testament, and the 2 words that popped up in my mind as I was preparing last Sunday was limitless love. That's a characteristic. You see the little blue lazy river there flowing. I tried to describe how there is a current called our sinful nature that drags us from one flesh to contract to selfish. It's just, and it takes effort just to stay in one flesh. But that's the work we have. We're always in the fight. So, and that's the same for regular relationships. The regular current is going to pull you toward mediocrity or selfishness, toward contract or selfish. So, hoped it was helpful for people. I received quite a number of comments of marriages and friendships that had, where are we at on this? Which pot are we in? So, and you can go back and forth between one flesh and contract a dozen times in one day. If you get a little snappy or irritable or defensive, or you have a harsh word, you move from one flesh to contract. You apologize, you can forgive, and you jump right back. But it's that one flesh that is the highest standard of we'll do anything to make sure we don't have a mediocre marriage.
Yeah. And you said, I remember on Sunday that obviously the one flesh is, the goal, but you said that the contract, there's at least a little bit of honor in that, and that people are saying, they're, like you said, they're drawing the line in the sand, and that there will not be a divorce. So like you said, a lot of people have that kind of marriage, and it's commendable that they're not divorced, but your point was there's a better way, and that's the one flesh. So you've done this a little bit, but can you explain again, how would you separate those 2, contract versus one flesh? Like, what are some of the characteristics that would separate those 2?
It's not that fancy or anything, Matt. The only difference is the bar of expectation is higher. Instead of saying, we're going to survive and not get a divorce. You're saying we're not going to have a mediocre marriage. And so it's things like willing to change, humility, apologizing quickly, forgiving quickly, asking for help. Okay. It's when it comes to preaching, Matt, and what I do every week, rarely do I teach new information. Once in a while, people will say, oh, that's the new perspective, or, oh, I'd forgotten that. But most people, not everyone, but most people know what it takes to have a good marriage. Be nice. Don't yell. Don't hit. Don't have an affair. Show respect. Apologize quickly. I mean, everyone, air quotes, Matt, knows what it takes to have a good marriage. Most people know what it means to be a good Christian. My job on Sunday is not so much to offer all sorts of brand new information, but to try to motivate people to do what they already know they should do. I mean, everyone knows how to be a good employee. Everyone, in quotes, they say, hey, I ought to do what people say, and I have a good attitude, and I ought to, they know what they should do. It's just they don't do it. And that's what it is for the Christian life, and that's what it is for marriage. So I could say, get a great marriage. Show respect, be kind. In 3 seconds, I gave you everything you need to have a good marriage. Show respect, be kind. I could add 2 more words, every day. So there you have 6 words in 3.5 seconds. That is the secret to a great marriage. Show respect, be kind every day. Like, people know this. The fight is the sinful nature inside of us. And so I jotted down some things here. 2 words fight against what we already know is the secret to a good marriage. Show respect, be kind every day. Okay. Stubbornness and forgetfulness. So show respect, be kind every day. Even raise it higher all day long. Okay. You're still under 5 seconds.
Right.
For describing a great marriage. So it's my stubbornness. I already know what I should do. I'm just mad. I don't want to apologize. She wasn't nice to me yesterday. I'm not going to be nice today. It's just stubbornness. The other word that fights against the simple equation of a healthy marriage is forgetfulness. So in the heat of the moment, do you ever say something to Tilly that you shouldn't?
Never. Yes, I do.
You don't out. She says something, it just happens. You forget. And so the description, or what most people understand to make for a good marriage, show respect, be kind every day, all day long. Okay. I mean, you can do that in under 10 seconds, under 5 seconds. It's your stubbornness and it's your forgetfulness that fights against what we all know. And I know there are people who don't understand show respect, be kind every day, all day long. There are people who don't know that, but most of us do.
Yeah.
We're just stubborn or forgetful. What do you think? Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. And the hard part is, this is one of those things it's so simple, right? Like you make it sound like it's so easy for everyone in the world to have a good marriage, but obviously that's hard.
The lazy river pulls against it.
Yep. Real quick, we got a comment from our friend Cheryl Plucker, who said she celebrated 42 years of marriage yesterday. So happy anniversary to Bill and Cheryl. And God bless Bill for putting up with Cheryl for 42 years. That's a long time, but that's awesome. And I know we've got a lot of
yeah, and now
sorry, go ahead.
and now Cheryl. Yeah, sorry. And now Cheryl needs to tell us what percentage of time they've spent in one flesh and contract over the years, if she really wants to be transparent. Okay, enough of highlighting Cheryl. So yeah, a question for you, Matt. Honestly, and I have this sense that you and Tilly are functional people, and you overwhelmingly are in one flesh. You have that bar of expectation. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll apologize. We'll forgive. We'll ask for help. We'll be humble. We're willing to change. When you slip into contract, for you personally, do you think it's more your stubbornness or your forgetfulness? In other words, you dig your heels in and you decide you're just not going to apologize, or is it your impulsive forgetfulness?
I think it probably depends on the issue. Like, I think there's certain issues I get stubborn about, but I think for a lot of things, it's just forgetfulness. Like, I think one thing that I've noticed more now as a parent, more than just a husband, but as a parent, I'm becoming more and more aware of how selfish I am. Like, I think there was an awareness of that when I got married, but I think it's been exponentially elevated once we've had a kid, that it's just become so clear how selfish I am. And so I think in marriage, I think there are times when I'm selfish and I'm stubborn, but I think there are also times when I'm just in my own little world and forget that, Tilly has different needs than I have, or, whatever the issue is. So I think certain issues I'm stubborn, and other times I'm just forgetful.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the impulsive hit your thumb with the hammer and it just comes out. You didn't premeditate to say something mean to Tilly or Beans. It just came out.
Right.
So, yeah. So that was my first thought, Matt, is generally speaking, we know what it takes to have a good relationship.
Yep.
And it's pretty simple to put on paper.
Yep.
Whether it's a friend or a husband or wife. Show respect, be kind every day, all day long.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
Words are cheap. Our sinful nature throws in this stubbornness and this forgetfulness.
Yep.
And so the lazy river is always pulling us, and it just, it's easier on paper than in real life. We all know that. So that's the first thing I had.
And I'm curious. So again, it's great advice, super good advice. But again, it sounds a little bit too easy. So we briefly spoke beforehand that you've been in ministry for a long, long time. You've married hundreds of couples. You've done premarital counseling. You've done counseling for people who are already married. Obviously don't give any, I'm not asking for details, but what are some of the things that if a couple comes to you and they're in a rough season, like you kind of hear that money is kind of often one of the most things that couples fight over the most. What are some things that, like, kind of the rubber meets the road, practical things that really stretch this for people?
Yeah, I could answer the question by saying these are the flaws in what they're doing. So they don't have good conflict resolution skills. He has a temper. She's negative and whining. So you could address marriage problems through the flaws. And we call that for couples in crisis, they generally don't have a common mission that unites them. Okay, so on a very down into the weeds common mission, you could have a common mission to get out of debt. When two people have a place where they stand together, that strengthens the relationship, even if they've got a lot of divide. And so one of the things I try and do with couples is say, where can you unite in a common mission? And it may be as simple as you are going to unite in the common mission of both of you cleaning up the dishes and the kitchen every supper. And that's such a little thing, but it unites a couple. A bigger thing that you unite yourself on is we will pray together every day, or we will go to church above vacation and tiredness. So there's a common stated, sometimes I have them write it down. What can you unite together on? And you can get as detailed as you want, but that's a positive act to strengthen a marriage, is find common mission. Okay. Kindness, the tongue, listening, 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's a huge one. Even this morning, I was reading my devotions, and I journal. And so I'm actually doing 2 plans right now. The one with the church, through the Bible in 3 years, 1 chapter a day. But then I'm going through the Bible in a year. Okay. And today I was reading, and I choose a verse and then write about it. And today was Psalm 141, 3 and 4. And when I was getting ready for this thing, I thought, oh yeah, that's what I read this morning. It says, a guard for my mouth, keep watch at the door of my lips. So set up a guard for my mouth. I don't know if you think of a filter, a screen, that's the guard. A mask, or if you think of a person that's stationed there and they're going to stop, but set up a guard for my mouth, keep watch at the door of my lips. And then I copy the verse and then I write something. Today, I only wrote 2 words. Enough said. So the whole idea of a common mission is a big one when I do marriage counseling. Find as many common missions as you can. If you have to write them down and date them and both sign them, our common mission is to stand in the kitchen together every supper, after supper, and clean the dishes and put them away. Or we're going to pray every day, or we're going to paint the house, or we're going to get out of debt, and we're going to be together on this. There are so many things that can divide a relationship. Look for all the things that can unite. That's one thing. A second thing, it's huge, communication. Listen, watch your tongue. We just said that.
That's what your wife just said. Your wife, Joan, just commented, communicate, and listen. Wow, you guys are on the same page. Way to go.
Yeah. Thank you, Joan. Thank you.
Brent, I'm curious. The one thing that I know that Tilly and I have kind of learned over the years is I think we're trying to do better at learning each other's personalities a little bit better. I don't know if you're interested in this. Tilly and I are both sort of interested in the Enneagram stuff, or we did the love languages thing. And I think that's been helpful for us because just for the love languages, for example. So I'm a words of affirmation person, and we've actually figured out that Tilly is an acts of service person. She took some tests and kind of figured out that's kind of where she didn't think that was what she was, but we've kind of figured out that's what she is. And even just that shift has been really helpful for us because both of us don't natively think like the other person thinks. And so just having that little reminder, oh yeah, she needs this. I don't need this, but she does. I know that's we're kind of interested in that. I know not everyone gets kind of geeked out about personality stuff, but how has that played into your marriage, or how do you think that stuff plays into all this?
On some days, I think I'm really perceptive and I can read people. And other days, I'm not sure I can read people. I'm not even sure what my primary love language is. Is it words of affirmation or acts of service or whatever? I don't really know what like is the primary one. Joan, and she's listening, and she can type in her love language, but we've had some conversation, and yeah, time together and some acts of service, but there's not one thing in Joan that really spikes that I have to do that. Okay. But it is an important thing. This will seem like I'm off subject, Matt, but the golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And there are times when that's really good advice, and I don't want to be disrespectful. But there are times when that just doesn't work.
Yep, that's true.
And one of the areas it doesn't work is conflict resolution. So if I'm the type of person that if someone has a problem with me, they just need to say, Brent, I got a problem with you. But not everyone is like that. So if I do unto others as I want them to do unto me in conflict resolution, I cause problems. You see, and that's the same. I treat my with work because that's what I want. I'm doing the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but it doesn't hit the target.
Right.
And so part of the conflict resolution issue is I have to try to figure out what their conflict resolution language is. Because if I try to resolve conflict in the way that I resonate with, I might actually make things worse.
Yep.
Because some people, you should not come straight out and say it, even if that's how you want to be treated.
Right.
So that kind of went roundabout, but Philippians 2 says, look not only to your own interests, but the interests of others, which is exactly what we're talking about in marriage. Try to figure out what meets them in their world.
Yep.
And you can't always treat them like you want to be treated. Now, you should always be kind because you want them to be kind. But in terms of love language or conflict resolution, it gets a little dicier.
Yeah. Yeah, because even if you don't know your spouse's love language or your Enneagram number or whatever, you still know things that he or she likes and appreciates that maybe you don't like or appreciate, and you can still make that choice to do them even if you don't have the pretty chart to show you what kind of person you are. So,
well, I see the time, Matt, and we're getting a little closer. I got one more thing that I had jotted down here, and it's a phrase that the staff has become familiar with here at First MB, but it goes something like, some problems can be solved, other problems can only be managed.
Yep.
And one of the things that is helpful for a lot of marriages is actually, and it sounds bad, Matt, but it's to lower the bar and say, you know, your husband is always going to be a workaholic. He can tweak that a little bit, but this side of heaven, that's probably not going to be a problem that you can solve, where he suddenly just decides to work 38 hours a week and he's home. But he can work on it. But if your wife is, whatever, she's a spender, that may not be a problem that can be solved. It might have to be a problem that you just manage.
Right.
And it's the love covers a multitude of sins thing. And I deal with a lot of couples, and honestly, if he's got a bit of a temper or a big temper, he can monitor that and improve a little, but chances are, I don't want to just admit that we can't be fixed, but reality says sometimes you just have to manage the issue. You're not going to solve it. And for a lot of people that says, oh, I can breathe. I'm not wanting to move to a mediocre marriage, but this is earth, not heaven. Earth, not heaven. And so just let love cover a multitude of sins, and you're not going to fix everything.
Yep. That's good. We got our friend Nina Horton, who just chimed in that she's been married for 66 years. So, man, that's awesome. Very cool. So yeah, Brent, we're already over time here, but do you want to give us one last parting? What's just one little nugget of something that we can all work on in our marriages, whichever flower pot we're in? How can we just notch things up just a tiny bit more this next week?
You're not alone in your struggle. Every marriage struggles. Ask for help. Don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it'd be that. You're not alone. Ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't give up. Don't give up.
Yep, that's good.
And
all right. Well,
churches in our society are only as strong as our families and marriages. So we got to throw effort into it.
Yep, exactly. Well, yeah, I encourage anybody watching, if you didn't get a chance to see the sermon, please do go back and watch it. It's a great message, and this is gonna be a fun series. I'm looking forward to all your wonderful art projects here, Brent. It's gonna be fun. So, speaking of that, this Sunday, next up is leadership, and I got a little sneak peek of your plan for Sunday. It's going to be another great message. So, yeah, please do watch this on Sunday on Facebook, YouTube, our website, our app, or you can listen to the podcast later. We'd love to have you join us, and we'll be back next week, and maybe we can dive into the leadership stuff a little bit more, Brent. So, anything else before we wrap up today, Brent?
Stay safe, pray a lot, keep following Jesus.
Yep.
We'll hope to see you on Sunday.
All right. Well, Brent, thanks for your time. Thanks everybody who's watching with us, and hope to see you Sunday and again back next Thursday. Have a great rest of your day and week. See everybody.